Happy Sunday, everyone. And what we get to discuss today in Occupy Democrats is Donald Trump's very large or going insane brain. And yes, in this breaking story, we are on the precipice right now of watching the downward spiral be complete, because it's going to go, and it's going to go very quickly. Take my words for it when you see this breaking story and what he just did, typically by ranting on Truth Social early in the morning and going off on, this time, probably a group of people he shouldn't go off on, because he is cracking, and he is cracking big time. I'll show it to you in a few seconds. Let's take a quick listen to some of the sound he's given us just recently. This.
Trump 2.0. We were promised that for the big finale of the Republican National Convention, Donald Trump would somehow debut a new message of unity. And perhaps to no one's surprise, couldn't quite get there.
They're coming from prisons. They're coming from jails. They're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums. Crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom.
And of course, who could forget this?
We love Puerto Rico. When I went to the courthouse, which is also a prison, in a sense, they signed me in. And I'll tell you, people were crying.
Oh, but it gets worse.
I do. I read a lot.
Really?
You know, I read a lot. They like to say I don't read. I read a lot. I comprehend extraordinarily well. Probably better than anybody that you've interviewed in a long time.
While he fumbles about with his words and concepts.
This is a tough hurricane. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. And he was saying that China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain.
Just so you know, we're greater than the world. This.
Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
And yet in this breaking story, what is so key and important is the fact that the one thing that Donald Trump's brain, not large brain, will actually be clear on is never giving away power again. This.
We had that horrible, horrible result that we'll never let happen again. The election result, we're never going to let that happen again. They used COVID to cheat.
And the irony of all ironies in this little piece of sound right here, and I'm going to show you the story in a few seconds, is how he gets asked about being humble and then yet says he's extremely humble while not being humble. This.
You're not known to be a humble man, but I wonder.
I think I am actually humble. I think I'm much more humble than you would understand.
And it is that very hubristic arrogance that he grew up being handed $1 million at 10 years old, which is going to be the end of Donald Trump, because in this breaking story, he is losing his mind, literally screaming at the Supreme Court. Check this story out. What the hell is going on? Trump attacks Supreme Court for questioning his tariff powers. President Donald Trump erupted Sunday at the Supreme Court as its increasingly skeptical justices weigh in on the president's authority to impose sweeping tariffs. In quotes on Truth Social, Trump writes, "So let's get this straight. The President of the United States is allowed, and fully approved by Congress, to stop all trade with a foreign country, which is far more onerous than a tariff, and license a foreign country, but it's not allowed to put a simple tariff on a foreign country, even for purposes of national security," Trump wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social. That is not what our great founders had in mind. The Supreme Court first heard arguments for and against Trump's authority to impose tariffs last week, and a majority of the justices expressed skepticism at the Trump administration's position, a skepticism that saw online betting platforms predict the court would strike down Trump's signature trade policy. Trump has grown increasingly panicked at the possibility of the Supreme Court striking down his tariffs, warning that the United States, in quotes, could be reduced to almost third world status should the court rule against him. And on Sunday, that panic appeared to evolve into rage as Trump lashed out at the court online. In quotes, "The whole thing is ridiculous. Other countries can tariff us, but we can't tariff them," Trump wrote. "It is their dream. Businesses are pouring into the USA only because of tariffs. Have the United States Supreme Court not been told this? What the hell is going on?" Trump's argument in defense of the tariffs rests on his administration's reading of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a 1977 law that permits the president to impose tariffs in response to emergencies. The emergency his administration has claimed in the United States trade deficits with other countries. Whether the court will agree with that position is set to be determined in the coming days or weeks. And below, you can see Trump's entire post on his own, in his words, by the President of the United States this morning, November 9th. I don't think any of us have ever doubted that Donald Trump wants to be king, has always pretended to be a king, demands being a king. But if this does not put the cherry on top of what you as an American understand he's trying to do, it should. Because going to Pam Bondi and saying, don't release the Epstein files, telling her to indict James Comey or Letitia James, doesn't touch the fact that he's now screaming at the Supreme Court of the United States like they're his child, and he's going to ground them if they don't do what he says. That is an elitist, petulant child, dictator, authoritarian, totalitarian who wants an autocratic society that only he runs. That is what we're facing, but that's what's in his very large brain, and it's coming after all of us, but it's going to disintegrate faster. Watch, wait, see. You guys like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and have a good rest of your Sunday. Stay frosty.